Someone pays their rent every month from the same account for 3 years. Then they sell crypto, wire the cash in, and lock themselves out of their own money by dinner time. Nothing illegal happened. That's the part people can't wrap their head around. That's why this video exists, the clean exit. Not a hack, not a loophole. The actual mechanical sequence that keeps a legal transaction from looking like an illegal one to a machine that's never met you. Here's something most cash out guides skip entirely. The right approach isn't the same for everyone. It changes based on how much you're actually moving. Under $50,000, a normal domestic bank account and a normal domestic exchange almost never trigger anything beyond routine review. Keep your documentation, keep your account active, and this tier is genuinely the easiest. If you're just looking to spend crypto gradually rather than cash out a lump sum, a debit card linked directly to your exchange account gives you everyday spending power without creating a single large deposit event at all. Between 50,000 and 250,000, this is where pattern matching starts to matter. A deposit at this size against a normal personal checking account is a real outlier. So this is exactly the range where calling your bank in advance stops being optional and starts being the actual difference maker. Between 250,000 and 1 million, most people are better served moving from a purely transactional relationship to an actual named relationship. A specific banker or account manager at your existing bank, not a call center queue. Many regional banks and credit unions have a private client or premier banking tier that unlocks at this range, and getting into it before you transfer, not after, changes everything about how smoothly this goes. Above 1 million, you're no longer really asking, will this get flagged? You're asking, who's going to manage this relationship going forward? At this tier, banks and brokerages increasingly expect an actual ongoing relationship. Some combination of managed investing, lending against the position, or dedicated wealth advisory, not just a single large deposit and a walkaway. In plain terms, the bigger the number, the less this is a transaction, and the more it becomes a relationship. And the tier you're in should decide how much groundwork you do before you move a single dollar. One more factor shapes all of this before you even pick a bank: your citizenship and where you actually live. If you're an American citizen, you'll generally have fewer international banking options than someone from many other countries. Not because you're higher risk, but because U.S. tax reporting obligations make U.S. clients more of a compliance burden for foreign banks to take on. In plain terms, the fix for almost everyone in this position is simple. Keep your exchange and your bank account in the same country you actually live in. That single alignment removes most of the friction citizenship and residency otherwise create. Now let's walk the actual mechanical sequence, because the amount changes the friction level, not the fundamental steps. A cold wallet is just a device that holds your crypto completely offline, disconnected from the internet, so nobody can hack it remotely. Moving crypto from a cold wallet to an exchange is the first data point a compliance system ever sees about you. Here's what that actually means for you. The exchange doesn't just see money arrived, it sees where it came from, how long you've held it, and whether that wallet has ever touched anything flagged. In plain terms, your on-chain history follows you into the exchange before you ever click sell, so a wallet with a clean, boring history is already doing work for you before the transaction even happens. Now here's the part almost nobody explains clearly. Selling the crypto isn't actually the risky step. The exchange already knows who you are. You completed identity verification to open the account in the first place. The risky step is what happens next when that cash tries to leave the exchange and enter a bank. Strip away the institutional language, and here's the sequence a bank system actually runs. It compares the incoming deposit against your established pattern. How much usually moves through this account? How often? From where? A dormant account that suddenly receives a large wire gets flagged almost instantly, regardless of how clean the underlying money actually is. This is true at every tier, but it gets more likely to happen the higher you climb. Put simply, banks aren't primarily reacting to crypto. They're reacting to a pattern that doesn't match your account's history, and crypto-sourced cash often creates exactly that mismatch. Here's what actually reduces that mismatch, and it happens before you ever hit transfer. Keep your bank accounts active. Regular activity, bills, subscriptions, routine spending gives the account a pattern to compare against, so a large deposit reads as an outlier instead of the account's first real signal. Most people here keep the account active and think that's obvious. Don't skip past it. It's one of the single highest impact things you can do at every single tier, and it costs nothing. Here's the step almost nobody does, and it's the one that actually earns the name of this video. Call your bank or credit union before the transfer, not after. Tell them the amount, the source, and roughly when it's coming. Think of this as building a relationship with a compliance department instead of ambushing one. A bank that already has an explanation on file resolves a flag in minutes. A bank that has to ask you cold can take weeks. In plain terms, the fastest path through a bank's compliance system is giving it the answer before it has to ask the question. Now let's cover banks, credit unions, brokerages, and FinTechs because they don't all behave the same way. Traditional banks run the heaviest automated risk scoring, but they also have the most established dispute and resolution processes once a flag happens. Credit unions are member owned and often have more direct human relationships available. A phone call to a real person can move faster than a call center queue. Brokerages, when receiving cash tied to an eventual investment purpose, sometimes see crypto source deposits as less unusual, since they already handle large, irregular transfers as part of normal business. Fintechs move fast on the front end, but often have the least human override available. When an automated freeze triggers, that speed advantage can become a real disadvantage the moment something goes wrong. Put simply, there's no universally safest option. There's the option that matches your tier and how you actually plan to use the money next. Here's the part where I have to be completely direct with you, no hedging. Some people hear all of this and think the smart move is splitting a large transfer into several smaller ones to stay under a reporting threshold. That's called structuring, and it's a federal crime on its own, completely separate from whether your underlying money is legal. Machine learning systems built to catch exactly this pattern are trained on millions of identical cases. Attempting it is not just illegal, it's now one of the most reliably detected patterns in the entire system. In plain terms, the legal money doesn't need you to hide it. Structuring only creates a second unrelated crime on top of a transaction that was already fine. The actual defense is documentation, not disguise. Keep your exchange statements, your trade history, and a simple written record of where the funds originated. A source of funds record is just a short paper trail proving your money came from a legitimate transaction. In this case, a crypto sale you can point to directly. Before we get to the last piece, there's one more option worth knowing about, especially at the higher tiers. Instead of selling, some investors borrow against their crypto directly, using it as collateral for a loan. That lets you access cash without selling the asset itself and without triggering a capital gains event, since a loan isn't a taxable sale. Put simply, this trades a sale for a loan, which comes with its own risk. If your collateral's value drops sharply, the lender can force a liquidation to cover the loan, so this option needs real caution and, again, professional guidance before you use it. Here's the last piece, and it deserves its own careful framing. Some people choose to route crypto cash outs through a business entity, most often a limited liability company or LLC, a legal structure that separates your personal assets from your business activity. A business account tied to an LLC can create a more regular, explainable deposit pattern over time, since business revenue moving through a business account looks structurally different to a compliance system than an irregular personal windfall. But this is exactly where I have to be straightforward with you. LLC formation carries real legal and tax consequences specific to your state, your income, and your goals, and getting that structure wrong can cost you more than the freeze risk it was meant to solve. This is not a do-it-yourself decision. Talk to a CPA and ideally an attorney before setting one up specifically for this purpose. Here's your structural takeaway: no hedging. Know your tier before you do anything else because it decides how much groundwork you need. Keep your exchange and your bank in the same country you live in. Keep your bank accounts active before you ever need them to be. Call ahead before a large transfer every time. Keep your documentation ready before anyone asks for it. And if you're considering borrowing against your crypto or setting up a business structure, get professional advice before you build it, not after something goes wrong. That's the clean exit, not a trick. Just the sequence that keeps a legal transaction looking exactly like what it is.